All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another DC Worlds Collide video. This is Mr. Squirrel. As always, glad to have you here. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about resource bottleneck, especially as we hit chapter 40. Um, there is when you get into the 40s. I'm currently sitting at 46-3. At the time of this recording, I'm probably will still be there. It takes a little bit. It takes a while now to get past these points. Um, And I think that's fine overall to a certain extent. And this video was prompted because I was sitting in my Discord, just chatting with a few people, and someone posted, I finally got my first character 3 months into the game, badge 30. And I was like, I mean, I don't know how much they're playing. Again, this is kind of like, are you doing your crisis watches? Are you getting high scores in the crisis watches? Like, that does dictate a lot of how much you get these resources. But here's the thing. So when we think about our store shops, right? I want to highlight a few things. Do you notice here on the top of my page how it doesn't have an update or an upgrade anymore? And this is kind of indicative of a much bigger issue. Like the Evil Fall shop at 48-30, when you get past that, so you get to chapter 49, will upgrade again. However, you're going to notice here my syndicate coins, it's harder to get these coins now, right? So like getting good gear is challenging. Um, especially trying, and you'll notice I really I kind of prioritize pieces that where I can get percentage based gear, and I have not gotten like any. Um, I think the arena and Elseworld shops I have no complaints with, but it's this base shop is kind of something that I want to talk a little about. This is what's prompted this video, in the sense that I currently actually buy the titanium, the XP, and I do buy some gold, because of how limited these resources are and how little I get from them on a hour by hour basis. And something I want to highlight is this right here, these um, titanium per hour. It, I think it's okay. And this is one of those games that it's meant to be a long term grind. Like it is just meant to take a while. It's also, I think this game feels a little bit different because it's most games it's like 200 it's where like the max point is. In this game it's actually 300. So you feel those stopping points, I think, a little bit more often than would be normal. So I don't think it's so much of a resource in that sense. I think it's more of a resource in the sense of how many different types of resources we need that is contributing to, I think, a general frustration. And I think there are systems that were meant to be in play that would help us. So one thing I want to highlight is the bunks. So especially this bunk, this is where you get a lot of good resources. Actually, where I get a ton of my resources, and I do this every single day. This is where I get my resources, right? But even this is peaked out a while ago, and I think it's like, why doesn't this go up even to like 9, 10? Like why is it maxed out at 8, right? On top of this, there are other rooms here that we're not using, and those rooms could be places where people like, oh, I beat this chapter, it opens up this room. Maybe it's not about the adventures thing anymore. Maybe we get past a level and it opens up a new way to get more resources. Like there should be a room in here where we can get more badge material. I know you can technically get badges through the dispatch missions, but then it's like this feels like this thing that they're not really building on. And it kind of feels like we should stop doing one-off events and we should start expanding this thing out. And I think this should be considered, where are we getting resources from, right? I think general frustration here is, where do you get badge material, right? You get badge material from the shop, um, from the Elite Arena shop, and that's it. And then hopefully you get it from this every now and then, right? So if I go here and I'll do 50 right now to see what I can get, right? So this is what I got. I'm doing this to show in 2 hours, this is how much I get. I get 432 titanium. I get one piece of gear, 5 reinforcements, 72 gold, 72k gold, and then 55 XP with 122. These, especially these equip enhancement parts, they are incredibly valuable and very difficult to get. It takes so much to rank up gear. So if we think about, like, I want to look at my character. I want to use Hal Jordan as an example. Badge 30. I just got this on him because it's a crit with attack. I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm putting this on him. My Hal is sitting at 1 million power, almost 1.1 million power. Now, you look at him and you're going to sit there and say, the amount of resource investment just to get to this point, but I want to highlight two things. These right here, the percentage based primary stat is so unbelievably hard to get that you have to farm insanely hard to get these things. At the same time, doing Evil Falls, these levels are way harder than they should be. Like I can't really get past level 23 right now. And I mean, I could probably push a little bit harder and do it, but like these are very challenging levels. And that limits the gear you're gonna get, right? At the same time, you know, there is Crisis Watch, but this is once a week. And you have to rank high. Like I'm second right now, so I'll get some decent rewards. Yeah, like right here I'll get 40 blues, which I'm gonna put into Jessica Cruz, so she'll be 30 pretty soon. But like, you know, you got your team ups. That's for, you know, like let's come back to the character. So let's highlight all the resources. I think this is what generally people are feeling. I think there's a lot of end game. What's the right word? There's a lot of end game systems here and long term progression. But when we think about the rate at what we're getting materials and then the rate at which we can level up our characters, they are vastly different. Now, granted, does that encourage spending? Yes. Now, is that intentional? Yes. But like, let's look here. I'm going to go here. I'm going to enhance. So if I go to tier up, right, I need to get 600 greens, 200 blues, and 100 purples. The purples are insanely hard to get. They take 5 hours to get. So then I'm like, can't even get this thing to rank 2 in the near future, right? And ranking up, this thing is maxed out because you have to summon for these, but then you need to get summonings. You need to summon for your artifact, right? And then on top of it, I need tons of gold so I can rank up my equipment, right? And then I need a ton of badge material to badge up my characters. And then, you know, then you need to pull copies of these characters to badge them, to rank them up, right? And then you need titanium and gold and XP to do all of these things. So when you factor all of these things in, I think the titanium and the XP is fine-ish. I think that's fine. I do. I think those are okay. I wish there was a little bit more increases per level, or per chapter. But then, like, badge material is so hard to get. It's like almost too difficult to actually get. You have to be placing incredibly high in Crisis Watch to even get a reasonable amount of materials. And there isn't many ways to get this. So then my question comes back to this. Why isn't it, when we're like, maybe you leave these, fine, leave these alone, but then it should be easier to get badge material as you're ranking up. Like, we should want to pass the chapters. Then it comes back to another issue. If you go to the store, you lose, where is it? Is the growth? I can't even see the growth funds anymore. The growth is now gone because at 40 it stopped. Right? So it kind of feels like everything was set up to get you to 40, and then it's just kind of like, and there's no systems left in play to kind of help you. And I really think they need to be thinking about, okay, you know, we don't have, like, what is keeping players logging in? And I don't think there is a lot to keep a player logged in. Why am I going to keep pushing the chapters if the rewards for pushing the chapters, like, what if I'm at 34 versus if I'm at 44? Is it that different? I think it's a little bit different. I mean, it is different. You get different things, but like, you really, like, especially in these kind of games, the story progression should be very rewarding. And I think there just needs to be more systems and rewards and events. Like right now, there's only the fusion event up. And this week, I'm hoping what's happening right now is the Brother Eye update is much larger than just characters, and that we start getting some more systems in play that are increasing player retention. And I've talked about this in other videos. But again, like I come back to it, why does my shop not keep upgrading now? Why am I done upgrading and that's only 40, right? Because there people are in chapter 60s. Like, what am I supposed to just like, well, sorry, chief. You put like you were efficient and now you're not rewarded. There's no more growth. There's no more chapter growth rewards, which there should be. Um, yeah, I'm trying to figure out kind of like the resource bottleneck is now that you're putting all of these systems in play to incentivize players to get to the late game so that they can, make their characters stronger. And I think I like this about this game is that I have a badge, I have an artifact, I have gear. I have to also, rank up my character, right? And then there's also the affinity system. Like you want to pull characters so that they can also get higher stats. Like, at some point I'd like to get one copy of Flash so that way he can, my Green Lantern Hal has 3% increased attack and 6% increased defense. That's nice. All of this is great. I think it's great for long-term progression, but then the systems in play to create more sustainable, like I'm gonna be real with you. I want to use this as an example. To get to tier 4, that's gonna take like over a year, and that's just like solely investing in Hal for one character. So devs, you really need to create more like more free to play ways to get. I think honestly, the biggest bottleneck right now is badges, and I think badges are like they haven't fully figured out how they want to release the badge system because it's not friendly. And it's not friendly in the sense that it's too difficult to get badge up characters. I think other things are fine. Um, I mean, could gold be a little bit better? But they've tweaked that a little bit. I think there needs to be more tweaking in terms of like if I'm at 46 where I'm at right now, I'm like I want to keep highlighting for people where am I at in relation to everyone else. Um, I'm rank 5 on my server. I'm at 46-2. So I'm rank 5 in terms of main stages. Trying to see if character points. Where am I in terms of character points? I'm 11 on character points. System recovery. I'm 7 in system recovery. Main stages. I'm 5. Convergence crisis 11, and then evil falls. I'm 4. So my point is then that, but there should be better rewards for being at these points for specific things like gear. It should be a little bit easier to get percentage based gear. I mean, I think I've got maybe under 10 in my 3 months of playing. And I buy, like, when I go to the shop, I always, in the Evil Falls shop, I always buy the accessory and the comms pieces when I see them for the gear that I'm looking for. And I'm still not getting this stuff. I got my first one yesterday, which was a crit HP piece. Am I gonna find a way to use it? Probably. I'll figure someone that could use HP with crit somewhere. Someone will need it. Um, Bane could probably use it. Um, that's actually a good point. Bane could use that. All right. My point is that I think there are very specific bottlenecks that people are encountering now, and the one is badges. I do think badges need to be fixed. Um, I also think team ups. I really want. I think purple should be. Oh, mine are maxed out right now. Purple should be a little bit easier to get. Um, just a little bit. The purple ones should be a little bit easier to get. I think there should be more things in the, like. I'm gonna be like, for instance, the Elseworld shop. It's not good. Um, and they really. I think you need to update the Elseworld shop. I would like to see more things in terms of the adventure too. If you don't want to make these exploration is where we used to get those bunkers, right? Bunkers, I think it's very underutilized. I don't think it needs to be anything DC Dark Legion, but it should be something where we're getting resources that maybe, give us badge material, right? Like digital universe, I know I should just, but like even with the digital universe, like I'm pretty much almost done with it. And then there's nothing else there. Like, and then the one time you did release the permanent end game mode, or not permanent, but the end game mode, it was only for 4 days. And so I keep coming back to this question of like having non-permanent rewards, like these events that are timed, or yet they're almost designed in a way that they should be cycling, is really important for kind of giving us resources. And I don't want just character shards. I mean, and then, yeah, I haven't even talked about, ranking up your characters past 10, right? Like if I want to rank up Hal, I need 200 Hal shards, right? Yeah, I will say this. I kind of get that. It's a gotcha game. They want you to summon, yada, yada, yada. But on top of all of these other systems that you need in play, there should be more accessibility to these resources. I get it. I shouldn't have a rank 15 Hal with badge 40 3 months into the game. Fine. But if I'm sitting at like in the chapter 46, 47, 48, going into the 50s, it should be easier to start getting the resources needed to push those characters, is my point. And so the chapters, maybe they're not giving more titanium or gold or XP, you keep that rate, but then it's easier to get badge material. I should start being able to start getting the tier 3 badge material by this point in my, which I am, but it's so incredibly rare. I'll get maybe one every 24 hours, maybe two. Again, that's fine ish. Not really. No, it's not fine. There should be, like, I'm not saying that it should be exponentially increased, but if I'm going to the next level, the rate of growth and the rate of need is not the same thing, and they're mismatched in this game, and they should be better aligned. Maybe increase overall growth by like 5% across the board, because especially as we're getting the later levels, it's like I'm barely getting increases from what I was doing 4 or 5 chapters ago. So then why am I pushing so hard to progress the levels when the growth isn't that noticeable? Do you know what I mean? And so I'm going to keep coming back to this point. And I made this point months ago, and people are like, "No, it's these games are meant to like." I'm like, "That's fair." But like, there's one game mode where we can get materials right here. Now, I think you give out a ton of blues, a decent amount of purples, but then tier 3 is so rare, guys. Like, of all the things, tier 3s are the most rare. It's the purple for the artifacts, the tier 3 for the badges. Like, it's getting to the point where it's so bottlenecked that I'm like, overabundance of the blues. Well, right now I need a ton of purples because I'm raising up my sacrifice team. But like, I have very little tier 3s, and I come back to this point over here, consumables, materials here. So I have 43 of the reds because I'm saving those for actually John Stewart. I do need to rank him up. But like, I never have any of these things because I'm always giving them to my characters. And so it it makes it very challenging, especially badges, when a lot of the character's power is hidden behind their badge, that this resource is becoming incredibly difficult to get. And then if we look over here, I mean, it is actually pretty easy to get titanium. I do think it's kind of trying to push players to like go to the store, buy titanium. And what I mean by the store is the base shop. And that makes sense. I get it. But like, again, it comes back to this rate of growth. And I know you increase gold generation, but gold is needed now more than ever. And it's very hard. Like, there really needs to be more ways to get I think, again, just minimal increases in the rate of growth and a higher likelihood of getting tier 3 intertrons as you progress. Should tier 3 and tier 2s, there should be this. We should be able to get intertrons more readily from our baseline rewards, and that is something that as we push through the story, we should be like, you should really incentivize players to push through the story. Secondly, why do the growth rewards stop? For the chapter growth rewards, that's gone now. Like, you hit 40 and it just stops. Those are easy $10 for you. I don't know why you stopped doing that. Until the story stops, you should not stop doing those. Okay, that's neither here nor there. Um, And really, this is also coming back to this. There's nothing here. Like there's four. This room doesn't really do anything. This room doesn't do anything. This room doesn't do really anything. The only room that does anything is a squad dispatch. If that's what you want this to be, then all of this should just be removed and make this squad dispatch and call it a day. I think either use this or lose this. This is otherwise this just looks like we are now 3 months in the game. We have four rooms. Um, and I just this feels kind of like a waste of anything. This is very reminiscent of what like Dark Legion is doing. I think honestly, just get rid of this. Make this all her room or whatever. And I don't know, maybe just I just think like look, this is stay tuned, but we don't even have these other like any of these other ones. So then it begs this bigger question like what's going on with this? Are you going to do something where is it? No, it's adventures, sorry. In the exploration because this is where we got the rooms, right? So now we don't have access to this. Like I think it was right, yeah, right here. This is where I got one of the rooms. It was in, yep, here's the other room. So this is where we're getting the rooms. So what's the plan here to help us generate? Because I would imagine the bunks is where we get more resources, but because we don't have access to these resources, the stories where we're relying on our resources, and yet that's not scaled up to, especially as you get later chapters, it's not scaled. And I think because there was a reliance on this in maybe an initial design build, but then you didn't properly like rescale the story, and now we're running into this issue. Needless to say, I just think that there needs to be better permanent stuff in the game to help with player resource management, right? Like I had to burn through all of my resources to get to HAL to 280. I think these other events right here are fine. If I go to the shop here, these are good events. They do give some level of resources. I usually use the rest of these to get the shop stuff, or the sets. And then the gold ones I've been picking up this when I get them. But like I think it's just the amount of resources you're giving out is not equating what is needed. Like for instance, I think these down here are just way too expensive. Like I get the shards being as expensive as they are, but why is this 200? Why is this the same amount as 15 Green Lantern guy shards? This should be like 50, this should be like 20, and this should be like 10. Make it easier for people to get, especially when you're considering the amount that you're giving. Like these should be like 10, 10, and 20, or 10, 10, 10. I don't know. I think I get what you're trying to do, but you're creating almost the bottleneck is too much. And it's like people are looking at like a badge 30 and they're saying, I'm never going to get 15 characters there. I'm going to get one in like a couple months. And I will say this, badges are the most important thing, one of the most important things in this game. And the resource is so limited to get them up to that point that it is pushing players out. I think you need to find ways to increase the accessibility of the resource generation for specifically badges and then the artifacts. It is so incredibly hard to tier up artifacts, like insanely difficult, right? I'm not saying like make it crazy easy, but like it is so difficult to get these things, especially badges. More than anything else, I'm fine with the level stuff. Fine with it. I think it wouldn't be as noticeable if you didn't have so many like you can't go to this next chapter unless you're this level, unless you're this level. I think unless you're this level. I get why you're doing that, because then whales could just get to 15 stars on everything and then just blow through everything and be way ahead of everyone else. This does slow people down, and I think it does create more equitable ways of, player versus player stuff. I just think that in its current form, badges are creating bottlenecks that are frustrating players because like it, some characters really don't get access to their full kit until they're badge 30. Like Pandora is a great example. Her badge 30 is literally night and day difference for her. Or John Stewart. John Stewart needs badge 30, right? But that's like 2 month and 2 to 3 month investment for a player. And that's like, okay, then I'm just never going to get him to badge 30. And then they just get frustrated. Again, carrot on the stick, guys. I'm really going to keep coming back to this. I think revision of the carrot on the stick. Make the carrot closer. I think there just needs to be more accessible ways to getting badge material. Maybe up the general daily rewards by like 5%. And you can pretty much, and then like make it just, and then figure out what you're doing with the bunks. Because if you're not going to do anything, just get rid of them. Just get rid of it. Just call it a day. Say, you know what? Didn't work. Gone now. And just, but keep those like the missions. And just turn it into like literally we click on, instead of bunks, it's like click on dispatch. That's what you do. Okay. That's it for this video. As always, failing is just your first attempt at